Have you ever been stuck inside doing a photo shoot for an outdoor sport and not known what to do for your setup? I think I might have a good solution for you. Okay, so recently I was in a gym taking soccer pictures, and this has happened a couple times lately. Now we have another video that we recently filmed that people seem to really like. It was soccer pictures also, and I show how to show the floor actually underneath the subject using the gym, which was a basketball court, and make it look acceptable for a sport like soccer. So if you want to check that out, we'll make sure we link that down below in the description. This time, we're gonna do the same idea, but I'm gonna show you a different solution. This one involves a little bit more setup, so my advice here was don't be lazy and just do what you have to do to make it look good. Photography is not easy, and everybody wants to do things as efficient as possible, but I think sometimes people sacrifice having to do extra work and justify it by saying that they're being efficient when really they're just kind of being lazy. So that's what this setup is going to involve, is a little bit more than normal because we had to bring more stuff with us. And the main thing that we brought was synthetic turf. So we will link that. I'm going to go over here to the computer and show you. I actually got mine at Sam's, but I found the same exact kind on Amazon. So mine is 7 foot by 9 foot. We're going to give you a link for that one specifically. And I have 2 of them. Now we only brought one with us for this specific shoot, but I have 2 in the studio and I often put them together. But we will also give you another link too where there's multiple sizes, because they've got like 4 by 6 and I think maybe even a couple of smaller ones. So, but they all look pretty much the same and they're all relatively affordable. Like the one that's on here that's 7 foot by 9 is $104.99, which is not bad at all. Now this is not the highest grade turf you can get, but it is definitely good enough. And there's a line that you don't want to cross to make it look too generic. This definitely does not cross that line. It is absolutely acceptable, and I think it looks pretty good. Now you've got to watch the way you lay it down, because there is a grain that it will lay to one side. And so if you angle that away from the light, so let's say I have my light here and the grain is going this way, so the light's shining the same way the grain's going, then it's going to look a lot more shiny, so you need to be aware of that. The shadows are going to look different too if you use edge lights. I couldn't figure it out for the life of me well, I guess it wasn't that long ago when I was doing a shoot in the studio and I had 2 edge lights, and the shadow from the subject's feet were going, they should have mirrored each other, but one of them was significantly darker and I couldn't figure out why. It's because I had the grain going that direction. So the other side was brighter. So if you either need to get the grain going away from you or towards you, depending on where your lights are, to make the shadows line up on the ground evenly. So that's just a little tip there when you're using this stuff. Okay. All right, so let's jump over to Lightroom and I'm going to show you my setup and explain it. So like I said, these are soccer pictures, and I think that using the gym floor, like I said, we did a video on that, can be good, but I just wanted something different to change it up a little bit, because the 2 schools are kind of like they actually consolidate to go to the same high school, so they are kind of rivals. They used to be bigger rivals before the schools consolidated, but still, I try to give schools different types of shoots if I can, just so they don't all look the same. And plus, that helps me, be a little bit more creative, and which is why I got into this in the first place. So, okay, so we have first the backdrop is an X-Drop Pro. And that's the big one that it will roll out on the ground. I think it's 13 feet maybe. It goes a few feet onto the ground. The normal size is 8 by 10, I believe, and this goes 3 feet out. So it does create a sweep. It's not a huge one, so you couldn't bring them too far off. But in this case, it helped because you can see I rolled it under, or pulled it out underneath the turf and just set that right. There's probably like, I don't know, maybe a foot of room from the edge of the background to the beginning of the turf, but it was black, so I knew that wasn't gonna be a big deal. And then we just have 2 regular stands behind the subject with FJ400s, deep focus reflectors, and then I have, their school colors are black and yellow, so we've got yellow gels. And then the main light is a C stand, which you can kind of see here, but I'm blocking it a little bit. Let's go ahead and scrub through this. There you go. There it is. Okay, so you can see that on the C stand we have the Westcott Easy Boom with an FJ 800 and a Manny Ortiz Beauty Dish. So we've got the Easy Boom here because that's huge in shoots like this, because the kids are going to want to do stuff on the ground and they're going to want to stand up. And plus you have different heights too. You have kids in 6th grade that are pretty short, and then you have some 8th graders that are pretty tall. So raising I love the FJ800, but it is a little bit heavy, and we also have the Pro Max battery on it, which makes it heavier. So that on a regular C-stand with the boom, that would be a workout raising that up and down for every kid that needs it. So this, you just grab it and pull it down, super easy. So for these shoots, I love using that thing. We've got the big foot inside for the C-stand so it doesn't tip over, obviously. And then we've got the fog machine back in the back. So we've got the gels with the school colors on the deep focus reflectors, and we've got it angled in at about 45 degrees. And then that fog machine. Now I've got it on the left. I'm gonna play this. So when it comes out, it's gonna come across, but then the air was blowing from camera right. So it was blowing it back. And so I put that over there specifically because if I put it on the right, it's gonna get out of frame a lot easier because the air would take it out. This way it's working against the air, and so it kind of stayed in place a little bit longer. So you can see what it's gonna do. It's gonna come out, and then it would keep going on the other side, but now it's gonna kind of work its way back, which let it sit kind of behind the subject for a few seconds. So that's the cool thing about doing this type of setup, is that the fog machine, it's every picture is gonna be different. You're not gonna have two that are the same. So you get a lot of variety with it. And I tell the kids they get three poses. So they're all gonna look pretty different. Okay. So we will have the lighting set up and the power and the diagram with the power and all of my settings and everything, all the technical stuff, that will be on Instagram for all my subscribers and on Patreon. So make sure that you check that out and subscribe either place. That's the $5 subscription on either one. Okay. All right, so let's actually just go to another one real quick before we move on here. Okay, so let's look at another one real fast before we look. I'm going to show you, I'm just going to show you all the behind the scenes, then we'll look at the photos. Okay, so here you see the side view. You can see kind of the setup a little bit better here from a different angle. So you can see how far apart everything is. And I've got the kids lined up over here on the left. And let's just go ahead and play this so you can see that too. So I've got a chair just so I can go down or up if I need to, not have to stand up the whole time. And then I've got my 24-70 on the camera. I've got my A7R5. Okay. All right, and then, so the way that I set this up, I have the team picture directly behind me. So all I have to do is literally turn my chair around. I don't even have to change lenses, and the team setup is ready to go. So you can see here's the guys' team. It's a little bit out of frame, but there it is. You can see the edge lights back there by the side goals. Those are probably about at the top of the key, maybe even with it. So it's past half court and then all the way back to the bleachers. So it's about 45 degrees. Somebody asked me the other day on last week's video, I think, how I determined where to put my edge lights. Why couldn't I put them closer and save power? Well, because if you put them closer, you want them out of the frame. And because I shoot I don't shoot all my team shots wide angle, but a lot of them I do. And even if you don't shoot wide, you still need to make sure the lights, if they're too close, it's easy to get them out of frame because you want them 45 degrees behind them. That's what I always go for, 45 degrees. And so I measure, or I get at that angle, and then I just walk back until they're out of the frame or right at the edge. Now I have an A7R5, a Sony A7R5, so it's a 60 megapixel camera. So I know I can shoot a little bit loose on the sides and crop the light out if I need to. So that's one big benefit to having a camera like this. My A9 III is 25 megapixels. I can do that a little bit, but I can't go too far with it. So you have to keep that in mind. But that's why I shoot those with this camera specifically. Okay, but besides that, I try to get it right in camera and try to get them all the way out. Sometimes when you scoot them back too far, you lose the power because you need to be able to see the edge of the light on the edges of the subject. That's the whole point of it, right? Okay, you can see my two 7-foot umbrellas. These are all FJ400s. And here's a side view, the same thing, so you see both setups here. So that works really well. I don't have to move around. Now you have to have the lights, obviously, to do this. So we have 7 lights total. So, and that's, if you can't afford 7 lights or that's not in your budget, then, you're just gonna have to move stuff around. That's the way it works. I used to have to do that too, which is more time consuming. But if you have the means, this is a great way to do it because once you get it set up, yes, it is a little bit of setup and you have to transport all this stuff there, obviously. But once you get it set up and you shoot, everything's gonna be right. And that's the reason you do this, is because there's less editing time. When you shoot it, it's correct. Like there's no cutting corners. There's nothing you have to fix afterwards. And that is how I like to do things, because when you get back, the pictures are done basically. You put your preset or your editing preset on there in Lightroom, and they're good to go. Okay, so let's take a look at the photos now so you guys can see those. Okay, so here's the first one. And you can see why we've got those. It's important to get the fog machine in between the subject and the backlight so that the gels hit the light, because if they don't, so the gels hit the fog, because if the fog is too far back or even, then a lot of it's going to look gray and it's going to look kind of muddy. It's not going to be the true color that you want like this. And I had the deep focus angled slightly towards me, about 45 degrees again, because, and they are definitely out of frame and they're angled down a little bit too, but I do that so that I angle them down and I get them up high and angle them down so that you don't get that, if you have them straight across, the shoulder shadow from people will cut right across their face, and it's hard light when you have a hard reflector on that. So it's not like an umbrella where it's going to have a softer edge. So I get them up and angle them down. Now it's not going to affect the girls with their hair down, but guys it will. So that's why I have them positioned where they are. And then a little bit of flare is okay, because I think that adds to the shot, honestly. So you can go full body. You could go full body. You can crop into their waist, or you can get them on the grounds. And then they can even do like minimal action shots. You don't want to get crazy with it, but like, you know, juggling or stuff like that, or acting like they're going to kick if they can pull it off. Now, one thing I will say, when you put turf down on a floor like this, really any floor that's not sticky or anything, that doesn't have a texture to it that's going to hold it, you need to put a rug stopper underneath it, because it will slide. So that's the last thing you want to do is have somebody hurt themselves because they're going to try to kick a soccer ball in a photo and slip and fall. Like, that's not, and it can happen very easily. So make sure you bring a rug stopper if you're going to do anything like that. And you can see the shadows here too. It's darker on one side than the other. But, you know, that's just kind of how it goes with this turf. Sometimes it's going to look like that because of the grain, like I said before. Okay, so, but you can definitely minimize it though, because there's one way, if you turn it one way where the grain's totally going to the side, then it will look a lot brighter than even this. This is about as even as I can get this. Okay, so there's another one. See, there's a big difference there. There's a lot of fog and there's a little fog. That's why I usually take 2 shots in a row just to let it dissipate a little bit. When the air's going like that, it's going to get sucked up, so it's not going to stick around real long. So, you know, if you want it more dissipated, then wait a second before you start taking the shots. And personally, I like that look right there where it's kind of like at the bottom or maybe at the edges a little bit. I mean, that looks good too, but I like these a little bit better. So here's one. So this offers a lot of solutions. You can do, like I said, you can zoom in, you can do full body, and you can do 2 or 3 people at once too. The set is definitely big enough for that. It does have its limitations, but you know, there's a lot of things you can do for the individual pictures. You couldn't shoot a team on it, but pretty much anything the individuals are going to want to do, you can do on this background. There's the one we had the video of where she's spinning the ball on her finger. And then here's a couple of team pictures. Okay. So that is I say easy. That's not super easy because you do have to bring everything there and set it up. But all you're really doing is just pulling the turf out of the truck and rolling it out. So it's not that big a deal. Like I said, don't be lazy. Do stuff like that because it helps feed your creativity and it gives your clients something different than they're not expecting, because when they see these, when you're taking them, they're going to be shocked that it looks the way that it does, because they are not expecting that. They think these are going to suck because we're in a basketball gym. And I guarantee you, because they're middle schoolers, they're definitely going to think that. But then when they look at them, they're going to be very, very surprised. They always get super excited. Here's a couple others too that I didn't show. There's one sitting down, and then there's one juggling too. So you can see that, you know, like I said, there's a lot of scenarios you can use this type of setup for. So it works really well. And judging from their reaction, they were really happy with them. We just put them up for them to start buying. So I think that the parents are going to love them too. So, okay. So that's it for this week. I hope that you guys enjoyed that. I hope that can benefit you down the road in your shoots. If you did get something out of it, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. I've got my Westcott and my Amazon affiliate links down there and my Smoke Ninja Pro. If you do buy anything from any of those places, I really appreciate you guys using those links. I do get a very small commission for them, but that helps pay for these videos and keeps the channel going. So, because I don't get, every now and then I will have some of these sponsored, but usually we're just doing them. So that definitely helps support that. I really appreciate it. Make sure you go to matthernandezcreative.com, sign up for the newsletter so you get emails whenever we announce anything from workshops to presets to videos or whatever. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. There's going to be a lot more to come.